Hello, Sharon Durbin Graves, coming to you live from my studio here in Pewee Valley, Kentucky. Woohoo! And tonight is the night. We're opening up. Actually, I opened it up a few minutes ago. The Beginners Painting Club. So you can go in there. It's at my website, www.paintingwithacrylics101.com, and then across the top are some tabs, and one of them says Beginners Painting Club, and you can scroll down in there and you can see everything that there is to offer in the club. And at the very bottom you can say, I'm in, I'm ready, I want to learn to paint, and I'm done fooling around with it. I'm gonna get it together and I'm gonna learn, because part of the problem is I know there is a boatload of information out there. It is all over the internet, YouTube, every place. And probably everything I'm teaching you can find for free. But it's all over the place, in pieces here and pieces there. And what I've tried to do is, when I first started, it was so hard to get started that I keep remembering back to those days. What was it I needed, and how would this help me? How would the Beginners Painting Club have helped me get farther down the road quicker? And so everything I put in there is designed with that in mind. Now, there are 3 sections in the Beginners Painting Club, and one is Fundamentals of Art, one is Elements of Art, and one is Painting Classes. And I just want to tell you a few of the things that are in each section. Under Fundamentals of Art, those are the foundation things that you need to understand in order to give your painting depth and form and all of those kind of things. I kind of explained last night. Last night I did this live. I painted these daisies live. And I showed you how to get depth in a painting like this. And so those are some of the things that every beginning artist struggles with. Their work looks flat. And so if you've been painting for a while and you're not satisfied, you still think it looks flat, then the Beginners Painting Club could be very helpful for you. Inside the Fundamentals of Art, there's a class on understanding the pressure you put on a brush. And then, because you can get all sorts of marks with one brush, depending on where it is, how you're using it, what part of it you're using, how much pressure you use. I can take a brush this big and get a teeny tiny thin little line just by the pressure that I'm using. Then there's a section in there on how to mix paint. And I teach a ton of beginners. That's all I teach. And I teach a lot of classes, group classes. And one thing that I always see is beginners want to sit there and mix to where it looks like pancake batter. It's all one color. There's no life or variety in there. And I'm always harping on people, don't mix it up so much. Let some of those other colors come through. So there's a whole class in there on how to mix paint. Then there is a class on making and understanding the color wheel. It's the way it is for a reason, and it gives you tons and tons of information. There's a class in there on making a color chart and what you get from a color chart. Why should you make a color chart? As you can see, this one here is all greens basically. Well, I bought 4 tubes of green paint, different kinds of green paint, and I wanted to see what they would do with my basic palette. So I put my basic colors here and my new shades of green that I had just purchased, and I wanted to see what this green would do with this yellow, what this green would do with this yellow, what this green would do with this yellow. So these are really good for, I have one that is all on like earth tones for landscapes. So if, let's say I wanted a dark teal kind of a green. Okay, well, I'm looking at that right there. So that was made out of ultramarine blue, and then this is I can't even read it. Oh, it's a permanent green. Okay, so I'm not familiar with the name of it because I don't use it very often. So, so I would take this color and this color. That's how I got that color. So once you there's a couple of things you learn from this. One is how to use a brush, how to mix paint, and what your paints do with each other, how well they play together. And so then there is a section on all about brushes. So you want to learn to paint, but you don't even know what brush to buy? Well, there's a class in there that teaches you all about the brushes that I use, the kinds that I use. I don't sell anything on there. I don't have any affiliate marketing with any companies or anything. I don't make any money from anybody that I recommend. I just recommend them because I use them. And so, hello, people. I see people hopping on there. And so then there is a section on setting up a Stay Wet palette box. That's what I paint with acrylic paints. I use a Stay Wet palette box, and there's a really good way to get it set up. And I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to frame a painting. This is a real, gets under my skin to see somebody who, paints a beautiful painting, puts it in a frame, and then doesn't finish it. I like to see a nice professional finish on the backs of my paintings. So they're all, if they're in a frame, or if they are like a, let's see, does this one have one? Yep. Okay, so this is just a 8 by 10 little canvas. Okay, so I put this paper backing and wire it to hang so it looks neat on both sides. I'm a neatnik. Everybody knows that. But at any rate, I teach you how to frame a painting to make it look professional without spending hundreds of dollars to do it. It's not hard. You can do this in 15, 20 minutes. It is really not hard, and I teach you that in one section. I teach you about, there's a class in there on supports. What's a support? A support is nothing more than what you paint on. And I teach you about different kinds of watercolor paper, canvas paper, canvas panels, stretch canvas, gallery wrap canvas, wood, all sorts of things that you can paint on, and how to get the best result. And then there's a section in there on drawing supplies. Interspersed throughout the Beginner's Painting Club, there are a number of classes that involve drawing. And I will be perfectly honest, I did not draw for the first 10 years of my painting career. But I decided at one point I really want to get better at that. And so I really have spent a fair amount of time improving my drawing skills. They're nowhere near where I'd like for them to be, but they are much better than they were, and it helps me to see things in a painting. If I do a little thumbnail sketch, or if we raise a lot of flowers here. Even in this little postage stamp yard, my husband loves to raise flowers, and so he'll cut them and bring them in, and I'll sit there in the evening and draw them, and so just spending 15 to 30 minutes drawing gets my brain going. It helps me to realize, okay, so that's down in there. How do I create that cone? How do I get those petals like that? So it really helps your art in the long run. Okay, so then there's the elements of art. That's the second section. And I take 4 kinds of paintings that I do: landscape, seascape, still life, and floral. And I break them down into the pieces that are inside of those kind of paintings. In the elements of art also, I throw in one section on drawing classes, and there's a bird's nest in a tree, there's a bear tree, and there'll be more as we go along, because I add to it every single month. So what's there last month is still there, what's there this month is still there, and what's coming will be there. So the library grows every single month. In the Seascapes, I I didn't really know exactly how to start this when I started it. So I wanted to teach seascapes, but I didn't just want it to be on a blank piece of paper. So I'm using watercolor paper, but the first lesson was on skies. So in Elements of Art, you would go to Seascapes and then Sky, and you'll see how to paint this sky to where it has depth. Okay, and then the ocean, the same thing. Why did we need this line back here? Why do we need that horizon line in the ocean? And then as the water comes forward, and then we have the sand. It's dry sand and wet sand, and then the motion of the water, the waves. And so each one of these is a lesson. And then these easy flying shorebirds. And so if you wanted to paint a seascape, but you wanted to learn about sand, you would go to Elements of Art, to the Seascape section, and then Sand, and click on it, and this lesson will open up for you. So you don't have to watch 20 videos on painting sand that aren't answering your questions. So I did the same thing on landscape. So this was the very first landscape, and so again it had sky, it had the sunrise or sunset, it had distant trees. These were all individual classes under landscape in Elements of Art. Then we had a pine tree, we had a deciduous tree, we had some of these close-up grasses, this kind of grass, all sorts of things like that. Let's say you wanted, let me pull these up here. Okay, so here was a tree, a deciduous tree with leaves on it. Here is a bare tree with just lots of little limbs at the end. Here are pine trees. So you would go to landscape, click on pine trees, and boom, that class is going to open up, and you're going to learn how, you're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes learning to do the one thing you want to learn. You don't need to watch a 30-minute video if all you want to learn to do is paint pine trees. If you feel like you understand this part, you know, like the sky or whatever, then you can go to the part that you want, and it's broken down that way. Okay, so next is the still life section, and I told you that it has a blue jar in there, and it does. And there will be more things in a still life, but it has been my experience that most people want to do, of the 4 kinds of paintings that I just talked about, seascape, landscape, floral, and still life is the least popular. So then in the floral class, we painted daisies. Okay, we painted some daisies, and there's the blue jar from the still life class. So you could go to still life, get the jar, then go to the floral class and learn whatever kind of flower is in there right now, and to put in your jar. But we learned how to get the stem inside the water, inside the jar. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure that out. So also we painted lavender, we've painted some iris. Okay, we did this whole impressionist thing where all these greens are back here, and they're giving the impression that there's leaves and all sorts of deep plants in there, and I teach you how to do that in that particular class. And then we did a peony project where we painted and drew peonies. Okay, so this was one of them, and then this was the other one. Okay, and again, you've got that same kind of impressionistic thing going on all around, where it looks like there's flowers off in the distance there, but they're really just little marks. and you know, a lot of times we get afraid to do something like that. So then in the painting classes, we draw and paint this tree in the snow. And so learning to draw something, you know, like white, like snow, there's techniques that you can learn and painting it is the same thing. It'll help you to learn those things. Then we did a really fun, it was Easter time, we did a really fun Easter basket with the grass, the eggs, how to sink them down in that grass, how to do that handle, how to do the basket weave. We did the whole painting, start to finish. And when I do a painting class, I might have, and I don't remember this, but I might have gone ahead and done a little bit of a time-lapse video once we spent 10 minutes or so learning how to paint this grass to where it looks like it's, coming up. That's the only time I use any kind of time lapse, is if we're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And so I might do it once I feel like I have really shown you exactly how to do it and we've done it for at least 10 minutes, then I might go ahead and do some time lapse, because this is pretty much the same as this over here. So then the next painting I think we did was this fun in a solid vase, to get the shadow in there, how we picked the colors, painting the iris and the daisies. And I was not happy at the end with the shape of these iris, so I came back in and re-videoed my correction of how I corrected those iris. And you're painting in acrylic paint. There's almost nothing you can't fix with acrylic paint. It dries quick and you can move on. And so if I am not happy with something, please don't think I'm never going to show it, because I'm going to show you everything. You're going to see it warts and all. And then another painting that we did in the painting classes was this geraniums in a terracotta pot, on how to get the depth of these geraniums, how to make them look round and deep. The same thing with the pot, how to make it look round. And with this one little shadow under here does most of the work, and then this shadow over here does some more work. But then this whole impressionistic background is just a real fun thing to do. So coming soon, this month, we're going to be painting this barn. Had a request from one of my students for a barn, so we're going to do this one first. We'll do more in the future, but we're going to start off with this one. So in the fundamentals of art, you're going to learn, there'll be a section there on how to do barn wood. Okay, there's a real easy technique to get this to look like that, and so that'll be in there under fundamentals of art. And then we'll be doing this start to finish, but you'll learn the grass, how to do this fencing, how to put the path in there to where it looks like it's an actual path, and then painting that fun flag on there. That was a lot of fun for me. So we're gonna the barn wood will be in the fundamentals. The painting itself will be in the painting classes, and I will do a lesson, at least one lesson on a barn and on fencing. So we might have 2 or 3 kinds of fencing in the elements of art under landscape. So that'll be really fun. I try to tie them together. So I've got that light that's coming through my coming through my blinds there, and it's getting to me. So I try to tie things together. So what you learn here can be tied to this, can be tied to that. Oh, that's how it'll all come. And then we put it together in a painting at the end. So, and another benefit of the Beginners Painting Club is there is a free but private Facebook group just for people who are members of the Beginners Painting Club. I go in there live on Monday morning, usually about 10 o'clock in the morning. Please don't hold me to it, because sometimes I don't make it. But But I do go in there live, and I'll let you know when I'm coming. And it sits in there for a while. So even if you don't make it while we're live, you can still see it. Just like this. This will be available on here for a while. And the class I taught last night, the daisy painting, it'll be up for at least 30 days. So in 30 days, I'll probably take it down. But at any rate, you've got some time to look at that. What you don't have time for is you have 24 hours to decide, yep, the Beginner's Painting Club is what I want. It is, if you are a beginning painter, or if you are somebody who's been painting for a while and are not happy with your results, I have created the Beginner's Painting Club for you. Nobody else. There's tons of stuff out there. There's tons of classes for people who are in the middle and above that beginning painters can't even relate to. We're like, what are you talking about there? and so as I have created the Beginner's Painting Club, it says exactly who it's for. And to me, a beginner, until you're getting consistent results and are happy with your results, you're a beginner. You might be a beginner for 10 years. Painting is not something you're going to learn overnight, and it's not necessarily how much talent you have. I think we talked about that on Tuesday night. Monday night, we talked about, maybe it was Monday night, things that hold you back. One was time, one was money, one was talent. And in my heart of hearts, I really believe that painting is more of a skill than a talent. And once you learn the skills and practice the skills, and I'm always harping on this, practicing, how to practice. I'm always putting things in the club on, this is how you practice this. Do this. 15, 20 minutes. Practice this. And you will improve. You can't help but improve. And so if you spend 15 to 30 minutes, I know you're busy. I know you don't have a ton of time, but you want to learn to do this. I felt like that. I know exactly what you're feeling. I wanted to learn to do this, but I didn't want, and I did spend a ton of time because I was ill, and then there was very little else I could do when I first started painting. I was very, very ill, and I couldn't go to work. I couldn't walk around on our farm property. There was very, very little I could do. But I wanted to learn to paint. I had the time, and I put that time in. And now I'm trying to help you get the benefit of the time that I put in 20 years ago, learning how to paint. But I promise that if you'll spend 15 to 30 minutes of good, solid, focused time, 3 to 5 days a week, you do that for a month. Now mark every piece of paper that you paint on. Everything. Give yourself some notes. Okay, this was on July the 16th. I learned this from this painting thing. I have, when I practice on freezer paper because it's cheap and it's smooth. I'm not trying to fight the tooth of watercolor paper or canvas or anything like that, and I can just roll, and I'm talking freezer paper from the grocery store. I can just roll out a huge piece, and I can work on and that's exactly how I learned to paint daisies and sunflowers and leaves. Huge piece of freezer paper across my whole paper table, and petal after petal after petal after petal, leaf after leaf after leaf after leaf, and you're creating muscle memory with your hand and the brush, just as if you were playing the piano and you were putting muscle memory between understanding where the notes are up there on the paper and where they are here on the piano. Learning to type is the exact same way. Playing golf, playing baseball, shooting hoops, anything like that. It's a skill, and as you practice, you'll get better. You can't help but get better. So if you will focus your practice, your efforts for the next 30 days, 15 to 30 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week, and give yourself some notes as to what were you doing, what was your goal, what did you accomplish, which of these daisies do you like. I keep all that practice. I have drawers of it over there, and when I'm painting daisies or something, and I act like my hand doesn't even know what the brush is for, like they've never even said hello before, and that will happen. It happens to every artist, and it happens frequently. I will pull out some of those practice sheets and I'll say, okay, I'll have on there, I like this one. This one here was not, what I was looking for. This is a bad shape. I love this shape. When I was using this kind of a brush, I leave myself notes. So when I want to go in the future and pull out and look back at it, I can pull that out. So anyway, that's how I practice, and I really cannot tell you enough how to practice. I mean, to me, that's just the most important thing. I want to go back to art blocks. We talked about that, I guess, that first night, and then we talked about creative blocks. And but every artist I know, every single one, myself included, goes through points where, oh my gosh, I don't know how to paint anything. I am terrible. Don't tell yourself that you're terrible, because you know what a self-fulfilling prophecy that is. But you will have times where you're going to be so frustrated. You have to go right through that frustration. You have to not let that get you. You have to, hello from Alabama. You have to get through that block, and you will. You will. In a week or a month, you'll be back to where you were. And I know artists who have been painting for 40 years who, for an undetermined amount of time, will just end up wiping off everything they paint and starting over. And it just happens. And so that's nothing unusual. When it happens to you, don't think, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore, I'm no good. No, it's just a block, and you'll get through it. I promise. You're just going to keep working your way through it. And if you cover over everything that you paint and start over, so be it. You learned something all along the way. So, oh, somebody's on here who's originally from Trimble County, which is, I actually own some property in Trimble County, Kentucky. So, hey, how you doing there? So, at any rate, I hope that you're going to go to my website, www.paintingwithacrylics101.com. And across the top is a link that says Beginners Painting Club. And you click on that, it will again tell you everything that I've shown you tonight that's in there, and you scroll all the way to the bottom and you can get signed up. It is a monthly membership. Let's say if you join today, which is July 15th, and you put your credit card in, it's $9.99 a month for all of this. And every single month I'm going to add more. So then in August 15th, unless you quit, unless you delete your account, quit, then you'll be charged again $9.99. Now, the Beginners Painting Club is only going to be open for 24 hours right now. Tomorrow night, Friday night at 7 o'clock, boom, it goes away. And then it will not open again until late October, and that'll be the last time it opens in 2021, and it will be the last time it will ever be $9.99 again per month. So if you join at $9.99 a month now, no matter where the cost goes, no matter how much it goes up, you will always pay $9.99 a month. Now, if you decide to quit at some point, I'm not going to hound anybody. I'm not upset. I hope that, you're going to be here for a while so you can actually improve, because that's my goal, is for you to improve. But if you decide to quit, that's perfectly fine. You just take care of it on your own little account up there. On the right hand side is your account, and you'll have that opportunity anytime you want. But if you want to come back at a later time, I really did learn a lot during that. I'm going to go back. Well, then you're just going to have to pay whatever the going rate is at that point. So I'm not using this as a pressure. I'm just giving you, the lowdown on what's going on. So at any rate, I hope that you're going to go to my website and check out the Beginners Painting Club. And again, it will be open until 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and then it won't be open again until late October. So thank you so much for being here. I've had a great time these 4 nights. I'm probably going to hop on here tomorrow, maybe about 6 or so, and just give you one last push, to see if you want to join or not. It's totally up to you. I'm good either way. My whole goal is to help people who really want to learn to paint. I'm not really looking for people who want to watch me paint. I'm looking for people who want to learn to paint themselves and to get better themselves, and are willing to put in some time, because that's what it's going to take. It takes that for anything that you want to get good at. And I also know that if there's something that you really want to get good at, you'll find the time. So thanks a lot. Have a great day. Let's paint together real soon.